So tonight we have our first request. The song that was requested is Just As I Am Without One Plea. If you've been around church for any amount of time, you've probably heard this song at least once, if not 1,000 times. But regardless of how many times you hear it, it's still one of those songs that to me never gets old. And it just retches at my heart. Every time I hear it, I want to just crawl down the aisle and throw myself on the altar and just say, yes, Lord, take me as I am. Every failure that I've had, all the sorrows, all of my longings, I just throw them at your feet. And the song was actually written by a woman named Charlotte Elliott, who was a prolific hymn writer and poet in the 19th century in England. She was born into a religious family, but despite that, she did not come to know the Lord until a year after she had become an invalid in her mid-30s. And so according to the Spurgeon Center, as Charles Spurgeon, the famous preacher, was a fan of her work, that center, that website, writes a little bit about this hymn and about her life. It says that for the rest of her days, she prayed to God to remove her illness. And even when her struggle remained and she did not embrace bitterness. This earthly trial caused her to seek the Lord and trust firmly in His purposes in her life. In one journal entry, she wrote, "If sickness and sorrow are the instruments which He is pleased to select for refining my dross, that I might come out as gold that is 7 times purified, shall I not meekly lie passive in His hands and have no will but His?" That's a pretty profound faith and surrender to the will of the Lord, despite the physical infirmities that she had. According to another website that I found when I was researching this hymn, this was the STEM Publishing website. It said that the occasion for writing this hymn was during a time where she was feeling particularly useless in her infirmity. So her family and everyone around her were busy getting ready for this fundraiser that was to establish a Christian school for girls, namely ministers' daughters. And she was feeling, everybody else was able to do these things and there wasn't much that she could do, and she was very disturbed in spirit. So that site said she gathered up her soul, the grand certainties, not of her emotions, but of her salvation, her Lord, His power, His promise. And taking pen and paper from the table, she deliberately sat down in writing for her own comfort the formula of her faith. So in verse, she restated to herself the gospel of pardon, peace, and heaven. There, then, always, not at some past moment, but even now she was accepted in the beloved, just as I am. Just as I am without one plea, but that thy blood was shed for me, and that thou bidst me come to thee, O Lamb of God, I come, just as I am, and waiting not to rid my soul of one dark blot, to thee whose blood can cleanse each spot, O Lamb of God, I come. Just as I am, thou wilt receive, wilt welcome, pardon, cleanse, relieve, because is thy prerogative.